News Radio 600, Kogo.
They are the largest generation in the U.S. workforce. Millennials have officially passed up the boomers and Generation Xers on the job, and the 80-plus million of them have different needs.
But are they really snowflakes? Jim Whitten is the author of The Old School Advantage and teaches millennials how to work through his workshops. Jim, are millennials really lazy and good for nothing? Because that's the reputation.
Well, good morning. Some of them are just like the baby boomers. So I don't think you can make a general statement about that. They are certainly a generation that's supposedly the most connected, but seem to be pretty disconnected, at least on a personal level in terms of communicating one-on-one. So I think that's just a result of the age of distraction that we live in and just the rectangles that surround us. Technology is very useful, but this generation is overusing it, abusing it, and so they need some remedial help. They need some old school.
Well, let's go back a little bit. The stereotype is everybody gets a trophy or a ribbon. Do they need more praise and recognition?
You know, they probably do because they've been conditioned that way, Ted. I mean, compliments are short-term. They don't last long. And so if you've been conditioned to receive a trophy just for participating in your generation, and if you don't get those compliments, you'll melt, so to speak. I guess that's where the snowflake comes from. Yeah, I would say they do need more, but I think they also need some retraining. And if employers, in particular, will provide them with some autonomy, because that's what they want some freedom to do some things at work. You know, there are companies that might give them a free day off, not to go on vacation at the park, but to do whatever they want to on the job. And there's some opportunity for some creativity and innovation and motivation for them with something as simple as that. So you can't treat them the same way the boomers were treated when they entered the workforce.
Well, and is this something that other workers could use as well? Because you hear a lot of people say, hey, you know, I go to work and you know, I don't get any appreciation or any credit or anything. And they're not happy in their jobs. Doesn't a happy worker, aren't they more productive?
Oh, absolutely. And it really means providing them an opportunity to get into what is called flow. This is a term that Daniel Pink, a famous author, coined. And flow means to be able to have an opportunity to master what you're doing. In other words, have enough challenge to keep you interested. But also, in particular, for this generation and for all generations, but it seems like millennials are much more about having a mission that's larger than themselves. They're actually not so much about the money like the boomers were or are. They're more about what can I belong to that will last beyond me and that means something. I don't know if that's for bragging rights or whatever it might be, but that is definitely a trend and a case. And so parents and employers need to be plugged into that.
So if there's a millennial listening right now, or maybe the parent of a millennial listening, what advice would you give that young person who's about to enter the workforce?
Well, the greatest compliment a millennial or anybody really can be paid when they're a young person is a term, it's an old school term called wise beyond your years. I've got 4 millennials, and if my kids are described that way, I'm very proud of that because that says they've been trained right. Now, I think this generation can be the greatest generation. A lot of people think that sounds strange because you think of World War II when you think of that. But it's really about equipping them to meet challenges. That greatest generation met the greatest challenge, and so therefore they had the greatest opportunity to be called great, if that makes any sense. And so now teaching them to communicate, to be coachable, to love to learn beyond college, these are things that are going to serve them well. And then you've got to get down where the rubber meets the road with some interpersonal skills, such as developing working memory, which has been robbed because of the technology, or using words that wow. So instead of awesome, using exceptional or extraordinary. And then being able to be a storyteller, because those are the things that stick, and that's gone all the way back to day one. People learn through stories. So these are things that I think have been relegated to the back seat a bit in our culture because of technology primarily.
That's very interesting. All right, Jim, thank you very much. That is Jim Whitten, who is the author of The Old School Advantage, and he teaches millennials how to, you know, get this done through his workshops and ease them into the workforce and kind of tailor it to their strengths.
And as a boss, does it really hurt you to give somebody praise for a job well done? I mean, that's what they want. That's what they expect. Why not give it to them if it means that you get to keep good people?